What is up, everyone? It is DJ Martini Midwest Reviews coming at you with another video for my channel. Today I have the iPhone 15 Pro Titanium. I'm going to talk about just the basic improvements that I think from a normal consumer that you should be interested in. I'm not going to get into super specs or anything like that, but I just want to talk about a basic comparison. If you're coming from like a 13 to a 15, then there's been some pretty significant changes in those phones, and I want to talk about them. So if you have an older phone, and we're kind of comparing, if you don't have a 14 to a 15, I don't think is a really big change, but a 13 to a 15 or anything older, I think is a pretty big change, and we're going to talk about the improvements that you're going to be looking at. So I'm going to keep it simple and not get crazy into specs, but I'll give you a little overview of everything that's changed and the most important things to me that I think are big things to be looking at with the new iPhone 15 Titanium. So thank you so much for tuning in. It's DJ Martini Midwest Reviews. If you've never tuned into my channel, just know I love to do reviews. I love to help. I love to do that research for you so you don't have to. Give it to you as easy as possible, and then leave some links in case you're interested in some of the products that we talk about. I'm going to talk about a lot of stuff, a lot of information. Thank you so much for tuning in. We're building a really good community of people that like to, share information, positive information. Everybody's really cool, building a cool community. Join the Martini Nation, join this channel. We are steadily growing. I try to find things that you don't see a lot of videos on, but every once in a while, like this one, I just pick up some things that everybody has, but I know there's a lot of great videos on the iPhone, so I'm glad you're here with me today. And like I said, I'm going to try to keep it simple by just talking about things that I definitely think are improvements on the phone. So since I did just get this phone, I definitely want to tell you what's in the box. And there is not much in the box, so this will be really quick. We're jumping right in. You see you have a new USB Type-C cord, which is a big thing that they have improved. I don't know if to me, honestly, if it's an improvement with the USB. And yes, you get a little bit faster transfer speeds, but they didn't improve like speed of charging or things like that. So I don't know if it's a super big thing, but I do miss the days where you used to get a wall plug-in because I'd love to have something to plug that into so I can plug it into the wall and I don't have to go buy one. So you are paying big money for these phones, and I think they could take a little price off the charge that they're charging for storage and maybe give you a little wall plug in there. So it would be nice. So here's the phone right here. There is some significant changes for the way it looks. One, you can see that it's on all the time, which is a new thing. Also, it has this button here. You can see that it has the button now instead of a switch. You still have your two volume buttons there, and you still have your main home button here. But other than that, you still have downward facing speakers and, nothing on the top. The back, now they have all these MagSafe chargers, so you can have magnetic charging. This particular case has a little kickstand, which I do like, so you can have it like this, or you can put it like this and it'll have a kickstand for you. They do have this dynamic island up here now, which kind of tells you messages. Notice it just showed me a message there, that I'm hitting my switch there. So that is a new change as well. The always on feature is not a really big thing to me. Now, since it's always on, if I were to point it at my face and it were to open up for me, that would be a significant change for me. But I still have to hit it, and then I still have to swipe up for it to work, read my face. It does it pretty well sometimes it doesn't still. Sometimes there's still some issues. You can see that I opened up pretty good there, but always on. The only reason I like the always on feature is because of this feature, that when you charge it, I have this Anchor. I'll leave a link for this. Got this at Walmart. Pretty cheap, pretty cool. But it is a charger, so it's magnetic, of course. But then when I turn the phone sideways, it turns into a little clock for me, which is pretty cool. So you see that it's a clock now, almost like a little alarm clock, and shows me the time and the date, and you can also see in the corner how much it's charging. But I think that's a cool feature. So that's also a very cool feature that I like about the new updates and things. You can do that with the 13, the 14, and the 15 now. It's pretty cool. So but that's only when it's charging and only when it's in this direction. So, but it does work better with the always on screen. All right, other than that, the dynamic island, the USB Type-C, the button, and the magnetic charging. Those are the huge things and differences. Now there's also a better 48 megapixel camera on this phone, and also better CPU and GPU. Actually, it's just the GPU with 6 cores now. It had 6 cores before on the 13, so not huge changes with that, but they do say you'll be able to play the coolest AAA games here really soon on this particular phone. Now they did make it a little bit slimmer, and I'll show some pictures of me just going on through some tests when I had my iPhone 13. This does feel a little bit smoother, a little bit slimmer, a little bit lighter than my iPhone 13. Like I said, I'm going to show you some little screen pictures of me going through that, but other than that, an iPhone is an iPhone. They're made really well in the first place, that when it comes to performance, in my opinion, that the normal eye sometimes can't capture, the extra performance that you're getting. But it does feel a little bit smoother, a little bit snappier, in my opinion. But that's from me going from an iPhone 13 to a 15. So if you're going from a 14 to a 15, I don't know if you're going to be able to honestly see a big difference, but that's just my opinion. All right, so I'm going to set this down. So I just want to kind of show that you can see these are my boxes here. This is the new titanium. This is the iPhone 13. You can see that it does look a little bit slimmer, a little bit longer, but in all honesty, it's just a little bit slimmer. But those big differences between the two phones, and like I said, a little bit lighter. But those are just some of the big things that I noticed right away that I wanted to put out there. I'm going to give you some pros and cons, and also kind of go just through some specs and kind of go back through the pros and cons with those. But let me go through the specs. If you're going from an old 13 to a 15 is my comparison, not a 14 to a 15, because I don't think there's really huge difference in my opinion. Let's go through some of the specs that I noticed. So iPhone 13 to a 15 Pro. We're talking about the Pro models. So the always on screen, you still have a 6.1 inch screen on there. You do have the action button, which is that button on the side, or the silent switch. It's the same thing. They did switch that as well. The dynamic island is a big improvement. 6-core GPU, 6-core CPU is different. On the 13, you only had a 5-core GPU, but you still had the 16 cores total. So you went from a 12 megapixel camera to a 48 megapixel camera, which is humongous. So that's a big change in the front camera. The rear facing camera is still 12 megapixels, so something to keep in mind, but big improvements on that front camera. So they did go big, and you do have up to 5x zoom now on the Max. I don't know if you have those on this one. I don't think we do have 5x zoom. No, you only have 3x zoom, but on the Max Pro, you have up to 5x zoom, which is pretty cool. USB Type-C charging, like I said, 23-hour battery life. Battery life only went up an hour from a previous model, like the 13, so it wasn't super. They did improve a lot with the SOS feature. Before, the SOS feature was just kind of like a panic, and now they have all kinds of satellite feeds, so you can get crash detection. It's logged into a satellite, so it can get your position right away, and you can get roadside assistance as well with those features. Some of them are extra, so look into that if you're interested. Still have the same storage capacities, a 128, 256, 512, or 1 terabyte. My model is the 512 storage capacity, and I only do that. I upgrade my storage just a little bit every year because, apps get bigger, games get bigger, things like that. So you need a little bit more storage every year. And I don't want to get cloud storage. I try to get as little cloud storage as I can, just enough for the most important things. If I were to transfer my phone over and they would have, my contacts and those notes or things like that that I need, I want that in the cloud up there so I can be able to get that easily. If I were to lose it, that would be bad. I always have a little bit of cloud storage, but I don't want to pay all that money for cloud storage. So no matter what, iPhone does get you with storage, because you either have to pay for it more by buying a phone with a lot of storage, or you have to get cloud storage. So they're going to get their money out of you some way. Other big improvements was a little bit more pixels in this particular model. From the 13, you get a little bit more. With the 13, you got 2532 by 1170, and this one you get 2556 by 1179. So you get just a little bit more with the pixels. It still was a 460 ppi, but you have a lot more brightness. You have a peak brightness of 200 nits for outdoor, and I did notice that right away. If you're outside looking at your phone, it doesn't look dark and those types of things. It's really good, and you can really see it really easy, which I noticed on my 13. If you're sitting in a car or something, you're looking at it and it's kind of dark, that was that issue. And so they did improve that, which is cool. It is a little bit lighter, like I said, and slimmer than older models, so something to keep in mind. And they do have, you know, the 4K at 60 frames per second for HDR and ProRes video. So very cool improvements on cameras and things like that. All right, so let's go into pros and cons. Like I said, I'm shooting through this video and we're going to get you the information that you need so you can do a comparison between, you know, older Pro models to new Pro models. And we are talking about the Pros. I'm not talking about the normal 15. We're talking about the Pro models, from going an iPhone 13 Pro to an iPhone 15 Pro is something that we're talking about. And I will talk about the Max Pro a little bit as well in these pros and cons. But so pros and cons that I have here, I did notice right away too that the phone sounds better when you're like have it facing you. I did notice on previous models like the 13 that the sound kind of shoots down, and you know, now they must have adjusted it a little bit better, that it sounds like it's actually front facing you, which is cool. So I do like that they did adjust that. Now the sound still to me is lackluster. You hear the highs, you hear a little bit of the mids, you hear the treble, but it absolutely has no bass, not even any kind of mid-range good bass. So I can't wait till they can improve and give an iPhone a decent sound. You pay a lot of money for these. There's other phones that do it really well. I know my friend has like a Samsung phone, and that thing is so loud. Like he can fill up my basement with the sound on that phone because it's so loud. And you know, I can't do a comparison with an iPhone because they don't get that loud and they don't sound as full as some of those phones. So I can't wait till they do something with that. But I did notice that they made the sound better from an aspect that it sounds like it's coming from the front and doesn't sound like it's coming from the bottom on this new phone. So a little bit of improvement there. Setup also was cool. I don't know if they've had this. It's been a couple of years. Like I said, I had an iPhone 13 going to a 15, and they do have a new feature where you can actually update your phone from the cloud, or you can just transfer information from phone to phone. Which is fantastic because I didn't have to move my pictures or anything. It does take a little bit longer, of course, if you have a lot of pictures or a lot of videos. I would suggest trying to get a lot of it off, but if there's a few things on there that you don't have and you want to make sure you just transfer them over, I just did a phone-to-phone transfer, and it was really cool and made setup really easy. So that's cool. So you can do iCloud transfer, or you can do a phone-to-phone, which made it really easy, which was cool. So definitely a positive. I did notice it feeling a little bit snappier now, coming from a 13 Pro to a 15 Pro. Definitely, like I said, made it feel snappier, smooth. The cameras look good, those types of things. Very cool. It does have the Bluetooth 5.3, so it does have the best Bluetooth out there right now. So if you're buying new headphones and things like that, new items that have Bluetooth 5.3, it's going to match up nicely, and you're going to be able to get all those full advantages of all that technology, Bluetooth 5.3 to Bluetooth 5.3. All right. Also, like I said, with the screen brightness, that was an improvement with the 2000 nits of outdoor screen brightness, that you are going to notice that you'll be able to see your screen really well in highly lighted situations out there outside. So it was cool. I do think that's a big improvement. All right, some of the cons that I noticed. Once again, I still don't like the speakers in it, the way it sounds. You can hear everything, it sounds okay, but I think it can be improved. I pay a lot of money for these. I know they have the technology, and I know I've heard other phones that sound a lot better. I hope they can put a little bit of mid bass in it and make these phones sound a little bit better in the future. It's still lacking, you know, like the best charging. It's still, even though we're using USB Type-C, we're not getting super fast charging like some other phones have out there. It's lacking some security now with how easy it is to break. Now, I watched a lot of videos, did a lot of research, and they are breaking these phones really easy. So they did take a metal piece out of the back to make these lighter. And I think that is also affecting it with heat as well. So people are noticing that they get a little hot. When I was first charging it, I did notice it felt a little warmer than my other phones have felt in the past. But I think that's, like I said, because they removed that back metal piece, which is not only helping some of the structure of the phone, and that's why people are able to break them really easy, the back glass and things like that. So they are a little bit more fragile. So I would tell you that go ahead and buy a case. I'll leave a link for this one. It comes with a glass protector for the back, a protector for the front, and the hard case here. And so I think this is a good value. It was under, I think it was like $21, so it's a good value compared to going and getting something in the store. So I'll leave you the links on the case that I have here. But definitely protect your phone, protect your investment, those types of things. What my last thing, and then of course storage fees. I hate that Apple makes you pay for, and it's a significant, I mean, it goes from $9.99 for the 156 gig to, you know, $12.99 for, it's like $100 more each time you're going up in storage. I don't think it should be that crazy. I don't, you know, for getting a 512 gig phone, I should be paying $1,300 in my opinion. So I think they should bring some of the storage fees down. I hate paying for more storage when you just need it these days. There's more gigs, more files and stuff. You just need more storage. And so they're going to get you with storage, either paying more for a phone or paying for their cloud storage. So I think that's a negative as well. So one last thing I want to add is, of course, if you're going for a Pro Max, it does have a 6.7-inch screen. It's going to weigh a little bit more, of course, at 221 grams or 7.81 ounces. It does have more pixels. You're going to get a little more clear screen things because it does have more pixels in it. Of course, you have a bigger screen, OLED, 120 hertz, same as the other phones, but like I said, you're just going to get some more pixels and colors in there because it's a bigger screen. 29-hour battery life on the Pro Max, so you get a little bit more battery life. These phones get 23 hours. They say battery life from video playback. I don't know if I 100% believe that, but like I said, that's what they're claiming on their specs, and so you get the most anyways out of a bigger iPhone, of course, the Pro Max. And of course, the starting price for a Pro Max, I think, is $1199. So it's not too much more than a $999 128 gig Pro. So if you do, you know, video editing and things like that, you might want a bigger screen. You can do that on this one, absolutely, because that's what I do on mine. So you can do that kind of stuff, record videos and all kinds of stuff with the other ones, but if you want a little bit more, the Pro Max might be for you. But I actually just like a smaller phone profile, in my opinion, so I always get the smaller phone because, you know, I like to be able to put it in my pocket easily, and I don't like having a giant brick for a phone at 6.7 inches. So I like the smaller phone. That's just my opinion. But if you want to do a little bit more with your phone, the Pro Max might be something you're looking into. And also the Pro Max has a little bit better camera features with the 5x zoom as well, and different apertures and stuff with the Pro Max. So you can get a little bit more out of the Pro Max, but the smaller Pro for me, the iPhone 15 Pro, works pretty good for me. So another thing that I want to talk about, of course, battery life. I didn't do a lot of tests. I haven't had the phone too long, but I did notice that, you know, I can do a normal, you know, I tested it. For most people, they might use their phone a lot at work or things like that. And through an 8-hour day, you know, I had my phone down to 40% by the time I came home. And that was just maybe looking at some different things, using it, videos, you know, if I were to shoot some videos, pictures, things like that, in an 8-hour day time frame, you know, I had my phone down to 40% by the time I came home. So it kind of gives you an idea. And that was starting at like 7 in the morning, going to about 4 in the afternoon. And, you know, that's about where I was at on battery life. So it is what it is, but kind of, and I was being as rough on it as possible to try to use the battery as much as I could. So I could see it making through a whole day, and then you'd be at like, you know, 5% by the end of the day, but definitely can make it through a whole day with no problem. So just something to put out there as well. All right, I try to get through the main things that you guys might be looking at if you're looking at a new phone. It's the iPhone 15 Pro Titanium. Kind of gave you all my positives and negatives, a little bit of notes, a little bit of extra comparison to some other phones and things like that, I always upgrade my phone every about 2 to 3 years, and just because of the battery life. I think that's about the battery life for a phone these days, for an iPhone at least. I've had all the iPhones, so I've been in the iPhone club for a long time, so I definitely can do a good comparison. And every 2 to 3 years is about, they say you're supposed to replace your phone when it gets to 80% battery life. You know, that's about where my phone was. It was coming up really close. And like I said, I do a lot of video recording, a lot of just little minor video editing, which uses a lot of battery life, watching a lot of videos. And so I definitely put a toll on it, and it does about every 2 to 3 years, you're looking at either replacing the battery or replacing the phone. And for me, I think it's just a good idea with the technology changing constantly to about every 2 to 3 years replace your phone. So that's just my opinion. That's kind of where I'm at, kind of how I see it. And so going from an iPhone 13 to a 15 is a significant change, and you will notice a lot of cool different changes out there if you're doing that. So that's my opinion. Thank you so much for tuning in. It's been DJ Martini Midwest Reviews. Please like, subscribe, and share. Join the Martini Nation. We are steadily growing, and I have more content and videos coming to you on all kinds of items really, really soon. Talk to you soon. Later.